Hello everyone, this is Dartt, and it's been a while since I've looked at the changes to the Marksman Hunter spec, and that's what this video guide is all about. I'll be going over talents, combat rotations, artifact trait progression, relics, legendaries, and all the rest to give you the most competitive character, whether you enjoy doing Mythic Plus, 5-mans, raids, or PvP, so let's get to it. To start off with, I'll be using the guide from icyveins.com as a frame of reference in this discussion. It was written by Azertharian, formerly a raid leader in the guild Method, and currently a raider with the guild Vanguard. He does a lot of theory crafting for the Hunter class and has written Icy Veins Hunter guides at least as long as I've been using them, so I would definitely advise checking out that guide. The Marksman specialization is good at both single and multi-target. The nice thing about the spec is that its AoE damage can scale up almost to an absurd degree. I've seen AoE damage on trash packs in Emerald Nightmare that top 1 million DPS. What's new? All Hunter specs have been revamped for the Legion expansion. Marksman has been redesigned to work around Hunter's Mark, which gives your focus generating attacks a chance to mark your target, allowing you to use marked shot on them. As usual, Marksman is the more complicated Hunter specialization. Strengths and weaknesses. Marksman has high burst damage, very efficient cleave and a frontal cone, and strong single target damage. Unfortunately, this cleave is automatic, and avoiding damage to unintended targets can be a problem. Also, bad RNG can have a huge impact on your performance, regardless of optimal play or gear level. Lastly, your mobility will be hampered to a degree by aimed shot. Viability in this patch. I've said this over and over again to the disgust and sometimes anger of people who play primarily Beastmaster, but Marksmanship is currently considered the strongest raiding spec in Emerald Nightmare. It can also be very viable in Mythic Plus 5-man dungeons, as long as you remember to face well away from spaces uncleared of NPC packs when using Sidewinders, Barrage, Stampede, etc. Beastmaster is a lot easier to run world content and quests with, and for that reason it is strongly recommended to earn 13 traits in the Beastmaster artifact before concentrating on the Marksman artifact weapon. Talent choices. For Mythic Plus dungeons, Icy Veins recommends you take Lone Wolf, Black Arrow, Post Haste, Patient Sniper, Binding Shot, Barrage, and Sidewinders. Personally, I play Beastmaster for Mythics and Mythic Plus, and strongly recommend the spec over Marksman currently for 5-man instances. So I find this to be purely academic. However, I'm aware that quite a few hunters do use this spec in 5-man content, so for that reason alone, I will say that their suggestions seem solid enough with one exception. I find Black Arrow to be a curious choice since its reset mechanism is solely dependent on you delivering the killing blow to your target. If someone else is consistently scoring killing blows on your targets, this will severely eat into your DPS. I think I would much rather take Lock and Load for the sake of consistent DPS throughput. For raiding, Icy Veins and I are in complete agreement. The talents you want are Lone Wolf, Lock and Load, Post Haste, Patient Sniper, Binding Shot, Barrage, and Sidewinders. Artifact ability progression. Icy Veins has a much more thought out plan for unlocking artifact traits than I did at the start of Legion. I went up the front of Thasdara to Call of the Hunter, then back around to pick up Bullseye, then all the traits along the back to Legacy of the Windrunners before finishing up. Icy Veins' more optimized approach has you shooting for rapid killing and Bullseye as soon as possible to optimize your true shot cooldown. To pursue this, the order you want to follow is Wind Burst, Wind Arrows, Called Shot, Mark of the Windrunner, Deadly Aim, Gust of Wind, Rapid Killing, Marked for Death, and finally Bullseye for your first golden trait. Legacy of the Windrunners, then Windrunner's Guidance for your second, then Precision and Call of the Hunter for your third. Follow that by Quick Shot, Critical Focus, Healing Shell, Survival of the Fittest, and Windflight Arrows. Relics. Ideally for Marksman, you will want relics that give bonus ranks to Precision, Windrunner's Guidance, Marked for Death, Called Shot, and Deadly Aim in that order. The item level equivalency for these works out at an item level increase of 1 being more desirable than a rank of Called Shot or Deadly Aim, 2 item levels being better than a rank of Marked for Death, and 3 or more item levels being required to be more beneficial than a rank of Precision or Windrunner's Guidance. What you should take away from this is that relic item level is always going to be important, and as a rule of thumb, you will always want a higher item level relic over one that is 3 or more levels below it, with a more favorable artifact trait. Legendaries. We're still only a few weeks into Legion, so you may not even have a single legendary item at this point, so don't be discouraged if that's the case. If you do have one, you're definitely going to want to equip it no matter what it is, simply for the boost in item levels and stats. In the unlikely event that you do have multiple legendaries, and of course haven't unlocked the class order hall ability that allows you to equip 2 of them, here's a ranking of which are considered the most useful. For raiding, Uller's Feather Snowshoes, Warbelt of the Sentinel Army, Zevran's Hunger, and finally Magnetized Blasting Cap Launcher. For Mythic Plus, Magnetized Blasting Cap Launcher, Warbelt of the Sentinel Army, Uller's Feather Snowshoes, and finally Zevran's Hunger. For PvP, I would actually choose Cephas's Secret as the top choice for PvP, possibly followed by the Shadowhunter's Voodoo Mask for extra healing associated with Feigned Death, then Uller's Feather Snowshoes for the extra burst damage. Maybe Magnetized Blasting Cap Launcher to get more potential damage from Bursting Shot. These choices are purely dependent on the situation you're in, so it may be to your advantage to keep an 850 plus item level backup for each legendary you own and then switch them out as needed. Combat rotation, opening sequence, and cooldowns. The Marksman specialization has always had a fairly complicated optimal combat rotation, and that is definitely still true in this patch. As an opening sequence, use whatever potion you have available first, be it potions of Deadly Grace or Duranic Agility potions, followed by Windburst. If you can pre-cast Windburst, that's even better, as it is a 1.5 second cast. Then cast Murder of Crows before activating True Shot. Cast Sidewinders, then Mark Shot, then Barrage if you have it. Cast Aim Shot until you are below 80 focus, Sidewinders, followed by Mark Shot, then proceed with your regular rotation. For single target, you want to start off with Murder of Crows, then Mark Shot when it's available. But only if you won't be able to cast another aim shot before the currently active vulnerable debuff expires, and still be able to land a marked shot before vulnerable expires, or if vulnerable is not present already. You always want to make sure marked shot hits before vulnerable expires. Then cast Windburst on cooldown, Barrage, and Aim Shot until you are below 80 focus. Finally, you'll want to cast either Arcane Shot or Sidewinders. Preferably, you only want to cast Sidewinders if marking targets is active, which will be indicated by its button lighting up on your action bar. But you definitely want to cast it to keep it from reaching 2 charges. If you could fall into a rhythm of casting Sidewinders, Aim Shot, Mark Shot, Aim Shot, then in all likelihood, you're doing it right. Keeping these abilities flowing is more important than just mashing the buttons as quickly as possible off the global cooldown. If you don't want to have to process all this in the middle of a fight, a much more simplified single target rotation would be Marked Shot, Wind Burst, Barrage and Murder of Crows on cooldown, Aim Shot when you have enough focus, then Sidewinders when marking targets procs, or when it hits 2 charges. As far as a multi-target rotation goes, there really isn't a good one. Just use your single target rotation, and assuming you are using Sidewinders, target the enemy furthest from you. Prioritize Sidewinders, Marked Shot, and Barrage, and you'll be okay. As a Marksman Hunter, you have 1 DPS cooldown, True Shot, which increases your haste by 40% for 15 seconds. You should be using this as many times as possible during a fight. If you have the Bullseye trait, late in the fight you should time using True Shot to when your target is under 20% to combine True Shot's increased critical strike damage with Bullseye's increased critical strike chance. Stat priority. Hunters in general share the main stat of agility. Following this for marksmen are mastery, haste, critical strike, and versatility in that order. Agility, of course, provides attack power, which determines to a large extent the base damage your abilities do. Haste increases your attack speed and focus regeneration, reduces your global cooldown from 1.5 seconds to a minimum of 0.75 seconds, and reduces the cooldown on your Kill Command, Dire Beast, Dire Frenzy, and Chimera Shot abilities. Marksman Mastery, Sniper Training, increases the range of your ranged abilities by 5% and damage of all focus spending abilities by 20% as a base amount. The higher your mastery, the greater these values become. Icy Veins is currently showing the Beastmaster Mastery for Marksman. It's incorrect, so don't be misled. Critical Strike increases your chance to critically hit with spells and abilities. Versatility increases all your damage and healing done and decreases all damage taken. Gems, Enchants, and Consumables. As far as gems go, you should use 1 Saber's Eye of Agility and Masterful Shadow Rubies and any other sockets you may have. As a rule of thumb, I'd socket the Saber's Eye and the piece of gear you are likely to keep the longest. Preferably something that's very high on your best in slot list. That way you will hopefully avoid needlessly throwing gold away repurchasing Saber's Eyes. If you're curious about what items are best in slot for you, you can find out by using the AskMrRobot.com site, and I'm sure there are at least a few other sites and add-ons that provide this information. For enchants, Enchant Neck, Mark of the Hidden Satyr, Enchant Cloak, Binding of Agility, and Enchant Ring, Binding of Mastery are the best you can get at the moment. If you are short of gold, don't be afraid to use the lesser enchants. I've seen the neck and cloak enchants selling for upwards of 20,000 gold, so don't go broke. Also, I wouldn't recommend using the highest level enchants on anything less than an item level 865. You can get this item level pretty easily running heroic raids, mythic plus dungeons, or rated PvP, whatever you prefer to do. So at this point, unless you're in a race for realm or server first boss kills, there's really no point. Potions and flasks. If you can afford them, potions of Deadly Grace are highly recommended. And if not, if you can at least pick up some Dranic Agility potions, those can still provide some benefit. Flask of the Seventh Demon should be affordable enough right now that you can at least pick up enough to get you through your week's raid schedule. In any case, they're the standard. The raid food you'll want to use, lest you be outed by every person at the raid with a Tattletale add-on, is the Nightborn Delicacy Platter, which grants 375 mastery. If you're still having a hard time either producing or paying for these, Barracuda Murgulga, however you pronounce that. I don't do a very good job of speaking Murloc. Comes in second, providing 300 mastery. Both of these last 1 hour and do not persist through death, so don't waste them on trash pulls. Finally, if you can afford to, consider picking up Defiled Augment runes. This is Legion's answer to Augment runes that were available in Warlords of Draenor. They provide 325 in your main stat for 1 hour. That's all I have to say, and I hope you found this useful. If so, please hit that like button. Feel free to share this with anyone you know who could benefit from it. If you have comments, I'd love to read them, so please leave them below. And be sure to subscribe if you haven't. Once again, this is Dartt. Good luck and have fun.